This is the network service of the NTA.
Aviate, navigate, and communicate. Our thrust is the aviation sector. Yesterday, we focused on the journey with Nigerian Airways and before then the West African Airways Corporation, and we journeyed down to where we are today. We had the pleasure of speaking with Managing Director of Nigeria Airways many years ago, talking about Captain Jonathan Ibrahim. We also spoke with Engineer Osita Okonkwo from Lagos, and then again Roland Iyayi, also a captain here in Abuja. We talked about our aviation sector. We examined our aircraft and our airlines. Our focus at this time is on the customer service, customer care. How do we treat our passengers? We do say that the customer is king. Today, many of our packages will be dovetailing into that very area. So we find out how we are faring here in Nigeria. My name is Thelma Obaza. Thank you for joining us. You're watching Weekend Deal, the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're talking about our own aviation sector. Now, let's go down and talk a bit about customer care and customer service. A client can plan ahead about a trip by purchasing air tickets. But what happens when there are delays and cancellations? Many a customer may expect or demand a refund. Research shows that clients can become return customers when their needs are acknowledged and interaction is friendly, authentic, and personalized. Is this the general example with airlines in Nigeria?
This hall is not very conducive. There are so many touts parading this place. There is no security here. What are touts doing here? This is not a motor park. It is uncalled for. And most of these bags we carry, they have no security. Most of the time, if you want to check in if you are not checking your bag into the aircraft and you are not carrying it as hand luggage, where they want to go and carry your bag and go and load it in the aircraft, they tamper with your bag. A lot of bags have been opened like that.
The environment itself, it looks totally disorganized. I'm privileged to have traveled part of the world, and it appears that art's totally different here. And I don't think we cannot get it right, but we just need to put basic things in shape.
Every customer who intends to board a commercial airline must come to the airport. Sometimes, while there, they make use of the airport facilities before they board their flights to their expected destinations. There have been one or two complaints and concerns about some of the airport facilities.
FAN is commissioning an expert to rehabilitate these toilets to a 5-star levels at the domestic. In the interim, we have also commissioned an expert again that will do a total cleaning and rehabilitation of the toilets, pending when this overall development comes up. And the issue we have with the toilets at the domestic is structural. They are smaller. So management, in the response to this, have even removed some shops so that we add additional toilets in the national interest.
When you disembark from a flight, your most candid thoughts are exiting the airport and arriving at a place where you can unwind and relax, albeit for a little while. Are you being picked up from the airport or are you catching a taxi?
We have registered taxi park
at the airport. And if you arrive, even if you don't know, as a passenger, you don't know the registered taxi park, there is a found information desk where you ask and they will direct you. There are signages to the registered taxi park. You go there, you bought any vehicle you liked, registered by fan, call them loaders or ushers. As soon as you come, you tell them where you are going, they will assign a company to you and the driver. Most of the touts, as I observe personally, are either people who are one way or the other worked at the airport, either as a former airline officials or former farm workers, or people who one way or the other grew up at the airport. If the security people are serious, they know them.
Meanwhile, there is a feedback system at the airport for travelers to share their experience. This is definitely a positive step. Some Nigerians believe that when the airport and its facilities are maintained by a concession company, everyone involved is pleased with the outcomes. They believe that many will be able to enjoy the facilities much more than they are doing now. Customer service at airports in Nigeria is our focus on Weekend Deal today. Join in, be a part of the conversation.
We're going to be talking today, just like we were talking yesterday, about the aviation sector. We often say the customer is king. When we talk aviation, flying, is the customer really king? That's talking about the passengers. That's what we're talking with Bello Ahmed Al-Khali, Managing Director, CEO, Northeast Regional Shuttle. He will tell us a lot. He has over 30 years experience in the aviation sector. Thank you for making the time to be with us today.
It's
for Nigeria.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Great to have you. We've had many tales, many stories about passengers, flights. But let's take off with postponements and cancellations. We do know that these things can occur, okay? Even with the best laid plans, things can sometimes come unwound, and then it impacts negatively on the passengers, because oftentimes when you're traveling from one place to the other, perhaps you're going for something important, a wedding, meeting, annual general meetings, stuff like that. And these cancellations and postponements will make life very difficult or inconveniencing for you at that time. What passengers say, there's hardly enough notice. You book for, you are scheduled to travel at 10 a.m. You're at the airport. Let's use Lagos, for example. You leave home 5:30, you're at the airport by 7:30 or 7. You're ready to sit down and wait for 3 hours. At 10 o'clock, they tell you, at 10 or maybe even 10:15, and your flight for 10 is now 2 p.m. Okay, perhaps you're still a bit calm, sitting down, waiting, okay. At 2, it's now at 7. How does that happen? Is that what happens all over the world?
Thank you for that question. Believe me, whether we like it or not, it's not always funny or interesting for the carriers to be in that kind of situation. There are some situations that will arise that will be absolutely beyond the control of the operator. If you talk about, like, right now we are in the dust haze situation. You sold tickets, you are headed to Gombe, for example, or Bauchi. Let me give you areas where I always travel to. The last time I checked, I was on a flight from Abuja to Gombe. We almost arrived to Gombe, and then the weather changed. We were in the sky for 10 minutes hovering over Gombe to see if the situation will improve to allow us to land. Unfortunately, we couldn't land. These are unforeseen circumstances that the carriers may not be able to handle. Yes, there are times when you wake up in the morning, you get to the airport, situation like that arises, dust haze, you will have to either cancel the flight or delay the flight. These are natural causes. There are other technical causes that will warrant an airline to delay a flight or cancel a flight. Sometimes you will have a situation whereby you are just about to board, and then maybe the handler of the airline suddenly hit the aircraft. What are you going to do? Absolutely nothing. So
the handler hits the aircraft.
Yes, there are situations whereby handlers hit aircrafts, that the aircraft will now be completely in a situation whereby it cannot fly. So I'm just giving you circumstances that are beyond the control of the carriers. There are times when the passengers will want to have a refund. In the situation we find ourselves today, most tickets are purchased online. Okay, understandably. You can
Which the airlines encourage.
Yes, exactly, which the airline encourage. Probably the airlines do not have a system or that can now say, okay, fine, we have canceled a flight. You purchased your ticket online, just wait for an alert. It takes a lot of money for you to have that kind of interface between you and your customers, especially when you come to technological advancement. Probably as time goes on, we will reach there. We have to
When is that time?
Believe me, I mean, it may not be.
Years.
Yeah, it may not be as long as you are anticipating. I never anticipated today we'll be selling 90% of our tickets online, but here we are today. Very soon, these airlines will graduate to getting your boarding passes from your homes. So you find a situation whereby in the airports there won't be that chaos that you see today. Tomorrow, we'll wake up in the morning, these airlines are able to establish a situation whereby they cancel a flight, customers are shouting, oh, you don't have to shout. Before you knew it, you'll hear telephone banging, bal, 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 bal. I mean, people are getting their refunds. So, I mean, it takes a while, it takes time. You people should understand, passengers should understand that Nigeria, a lot of people travel. We are under the circumstances of the stretched facilities at our disposal, trying our best to make sure we contain the influx of passengers traveling. All over the world, I've never seen a country like Nigeria where people love to travel all the time, madam.
Like that. That's why it's great to have you to enlighten us, to tell us more, because what the passengers want to know is, are they taking us for granted? So it's good to know that that is not their intent. But sometimes that's the way it looks. Now, okay, these things happen. In some cases, it's unforeseen circumstances. In some cases, it's maladministration. In some cases, it's putting a square peg in a round hole. But let us talk about when these unforeseen circumstances occur, how they manage the passengers. Some of those we spoke to were left on their own, as in they kept going to the counter. I have this problem. I have to be here. This is where I intended to go. When do you think this would happen? Sometimes when there are delays, once they've made that announcement, the airline, the staff take off. There's no one to interface with the passengers. Oh, be calm. This is what will happen. We'll do this for you. There are even times, in times past, when I know many years ago, when my flight was delayed and eventually cancelled, I was housed. You know, Lagos, to start going back to Abuja where I was staying there, I was at Ikeja. They told me, get your bags. We're about 5. Get your bags. Some people opted to go. Let's house you here. A shuttle took us to a hotel. A shuttle brought us back in the morning. What happened to those kind of experiences?
The government is trying its best to make sure airlines compensate passengers in situations like this. There is a limit to what the government could do sometimes. I understand perfectly where you are coming from. I mean, like I said, outside the unforeseen circumstances, believe me, let passengers know today that there is no airline that will wish to put their passengers in jeopardy. Absolutely none. What is my business selling tickets if I know I cannot take you from point A to point B? Absolutely none. So every delay you see, there must be inherent issue that caused that delay. Every cancellation you see, there must be a big reason why that flight was cancelled. Yes, I understand. Probably the passengers are not being treated the way in other climb passengers are treated. But that does not mean we do not care about the passengers. That means sometimes we are overwhelmed with the passengers. Airpeace, for example. Airpeace has so many airplanes. If you see Airpeace delay a flight or cancelling a flight, it must be something definitely serious that made that to happen. So, yes, before, in the 90s, for example, I have had an airline that I will be boarding passengers to travel. My chairman will call and say, Bello, where is the aircraft? And I will tell him, it's here in Lagos. I'm boarding to go to Port Harcourt. He said, drop all the passengers. Somebody is coming, take the person to Sokoto. That happened really, yes, it did. But in today's situation, that can never happen. So I want passengers to understand we are trying our best to follow the best international practice in aviation, but the circumstances I will always mention will come into a situation whereby we may be actually helpless. Not helpless in the sense that we don't have the capacity, but helpless in the sense that there are so many
unforeseen circumstances. But what the passengers are asking for and what we are also pushing forward, because we cannot go and do all the investigation about how unforeseen some circumstances are, but we urge airline operators, be courteous. Courtesy overtakes every other thing. Once you're pleasant to people, you are polite, you show understanding, people empathize with you. But when you leave them, you alienate them in a bid to avoid discord or avoid any arguments or altercations. Some people will now keep the passengers far away from them and then they disappear. But we'll continue that conversation. We thank you so much for what you're sharing thus far. Ayuba Tete put this one together. Let's see this.
First plane landed in Nigeria in 1922 at the Malam Aminu Kano Airport. The country has grown to having 32 functional airports spread throughout the country, making it evident that the air travel industry has been on a consistent rise, especially nowadays when it is not only the fastest but the safest way to travel. Besides this, it is a major employer of labor, supporting over 160,000 jobs in Nigeria and paying almost 10 billion naira in taxes. But in recent times, airfare has drastically risen, making the fastest means of transportation also a faster means of draining a passenger's finances. Airfares across Nigeria have risen by as much as 100%. Because of this, most airlines have reduced their frequencies and routes just to be able to cut losses. The worst hit as regarding availability and expenses are those not too frequently flown routes, such as Dutse, Maiduguri, Yola, Ibadan, Akure, Ilorin, Sokoto, Gombe, and Asaba, where airfare can go up as high as 100,000 naira.
The cost of airlines has increased. Of course, the cost is expensive.
You know, everything in Nigeria is according to the inflation system. So is the way they will be able to make their profit, they're all selling. I don't blame them for it. I blame the system. If the system can learn to regulate prices, I think everybody will be compliant.
Speaking to frequent commuters and airport personnel who chose to speak off camera, the reason for these exorbitant prices of airfare boiled down to various reasons. Firstly is the consistent spike in the naira to dollar exchange rate. And in the airline business, everything is denominated in dollars. This, by extension, means a rise in the price of essentials used to power aircraft, such as aviation fuel, which has risen by over 100%. Another factor is the maintenance checks, the A, B, and C check that is required regularly, which run into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Still, people continue to patronize these airlines, as it is inevitable that one must travel from one point to another, despite these high costs. But at least these trips should be worth the monies being paid.
The condition of the airport needs to be upgraded. Like the air condition should be functioning. The system is the whole atmosphere is hot. They should try and upgrade on the air conditioning system. The cleanliness system also should be looked into. They should try to meet up with international standard. This is an international airport.
With the emergence of newer airlines and the enforcement of the various policies that guide the airlines and their passengers, we can only be optimistic as to the future that the airline industry holds for its present and future customers.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayuba, for that package. It's all about the passenger. Yes, we'll fly. We don't own the planes. We don't own the airlines. We want to travel. We know the airline operators, nice planes, due process has been followed. Okay, lift us well. You price your tickets at certain range. People say we can pay, we can afford. Okay, we now buy them. Fly us to our destination. That's what I'm talking about with Bello Ahmed Al-Khali. Over 30 years experience in the aviation sector, and we're mighty delighted to be learning with you today. Perhaps from your own end, you are at the helm. You have often been at the helm, making decisions that will impact the lives of people. And many of them you don't know. So perhaps some things we're telling you today you've not even heard before. So we thank you for patiently explaining to us. But let's take a look at policies. A lot of policies are in place. In fact, with the policies on ground in Nigeria, we can expect, if they are working the way they ought to, half of the things we're talking about ought not to happen. Do we have adequate policies in the aviation sector that will govern this area well? If we do or if we don't, tell us more. What's happening with our policies?
Yes, we are very much into a situation whereby it's not as usual, I will put it that way. The government is very much into making sure airlines do the needful, making sure airlines actually operate the way airlines should operate. Training and retraining of staff is one of the fundamental issues that regulators are hammering about. If you are starting an airline, for example, like we are trying to start an airline, I'm expected to have a first degree holder as my customer services representative. There is a reason for that. The reason being, all those items that you are mentioning, somebody cannot, airlines do not have staff that talk good to customers and whatever. They are trying to avoid all those. That's why they are insisting the capacity of the person who is going to be at the forefront of your counter. The baggage handler, I am told to bring somebody who is an OND holder or HND holder who has been to 4 walls of a classroom, for goodness sake. So the security officer who is going to tell you what to do, who is going to check your identification and whatever, is somebody who should have a first degree. So if you see the package of my training, a lot of people will run away from doing an aviation business. But it's for the good of the traveling public, because at the end of the day, you have well-trained staff. In circumstances of either cancellation or either delays, there are people that will talk to the passengers in such ways and manners that passengers will feel comfortable. I understand there are situations that we find ourselves today, but believe me, we are gradually growing. It takes time. And then at the same time also, you have to consider the attitude of the Nigerian customer. I'm a Nigerian. I know sometimes I get to the airport with an attitude. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's quite natural. Yeah. Probably I'm coming out of a very terrible traffic situation. Probably somebody just wanted to ramp me over and whatever. So if we also could change our attitudes towards not having a mindset of saying, yes, it's supposed to be a reciprocal thing.
The customer is king. They say, I'm king.
It's my money. You know, they should treat me well. The onus is on the airline and the operators to treat the client well first. You know, two wrongs don't make it right. Correct, do your own part well, then you make me feel small. Or you can now tell me, but uncle, auntie, you two, you came in a bad mood, but do your part first. Little matter how I react to you, do your part first. On a final note, we do hear now that many airline operators do not have ground staff. Perhaps that is the reason for the poor attitude that many of the people that passengers come across put up. We had a case recently of how the mother of a passenger was slapped on a flight to Qatar or Qatar Airways airline. Did you hear anything like that?
I have not heard anything like that, but there are a lot of cases in the aviation industry that are really very interesting because, like I said, it's the human factor. If you interact with human beings, a lot of people have
But what will be
attitudes.
done in a case like that?
In a situation like that, I want to believe the airline will handle that effectively. I want to believe whoever is at fault will be punished by that airline. It is unacceptable whatsoever for you to handle your client in a bad manner. The client paid money for a service, for goodness sake. Provide the service that the client wants you to provide. Like I said, under normal circumstances, under normal situation of things, everybody will go home happy, right? Yeah. But if you have an erratic passenger on board a flight, that's most at times you see return flights coming in because of an erratic passengers.
Really?
Yes. A flight will be returned.
Really?
Yes, because the guy is causing chaos on board the flight. So what do you want to do? Most at times, like I said, it's the human factor. We can't run away from human factors. But at the same time, like I said, I'm not saying all is good. I am saying there is hope and there is light in the tunnel. That one day we will see the industry the way people want to see the industry.
That we also give our country a very good image. We want to thank you very much, Bello Ahmed Al-Khali, Managing Director, CEO, Northeast Regional Shuttle. A lot of experiences will be coming from your direction very soon. Wish you all the best in all your future endeavors. Well done, sir. Thank you. You're watching Weekend Deal. Aviation is our focus. A break beckons. We'll be back. Don't go away. We have the singular honor to be talking with another former managing director of the Nigerian Airways and the chairman CEO, Sky Power Express Airways Nigeria, Captain Mohammed Joji. Thank you for making the time to be with us to discuss this all-important issue, Nigeria's aviation sector. We know you were there from the heydays, but let's focus more on what's happening in these days, what has brought us to the point where we are today. There's been talk about several bilateral relations, MOUs, signings, in the aviation sector that's supposed to have uplifted and upgraded the sector. Has that actualized?
You see, that is what we call policy formulation, policy deviation, and policy contradiction. The three are all interwoven together. So when I wrote, I said, look, my friend, to know the future, you must know the present. And the present is a function of the past. These are the things so since then, you know, I look at the whole issue. It has gone comatose. There were 47 airlines that have gone under for the past 30 years. 47 of them.
Nigeria.
Because what happened, a lot of them working as traders. They don't have the clue exactly what the airline is all about. They look at it just as a small sort of thing like trading company. They never know that it's a business. And it's highly capital intensive. When I was MD in Nigerian Airways in the early 90s, so before that I was the Presidential Task Force 1989 to prepare the airline for privatization. And we realized it is absolutely impossible to privatize at that particular moment. We started in April, October 1946 with Ethiopian Airlines. Ethiopian Airlines, because at that time they have no any natural resources, only coffee. So they made sure the airline works to become a foreign currency earner. You live, at the time in Ethiopian Airlines, you can have an MD staying for over 12 to 15 years. When he leaves, he becomes a chairman of the company. Our attrition rate, no MD ever survived more than 1.5 to 2 years.
In Nigerian Airways.
So how on earth can you develop?
What does that say about management capacity? Is it the MD who is not delivering?
It's politics. Politics. That's all it's all about. No matter who you are, we're all human, we have limitations. We have board. Now, for example, when the tribunal comes in for Nigerian Airways, I attended it several times. I did not work as a sole administrator. Let Tony Momo of Blessed Memory, he was my chairman. you know him. He had a good reputation. Gilad Idris, you know him. Good high reputation, and so on and so forth. So now, if they say money missing in company, first of all, I am not the sole administrator there. There's a board. There's a chairman. That's why they made a mistake. They never knew all that. This smear campaign. Why? Because by the time I came to Nigerian Airways, there's what you call collectible, deductible, and shareables.
Collectible, deductible, and shareables.
Yes. So, when they finish, this stealing luggages, money, and all over the place, they collect money from there, breaking your thing, and so on and so forth. After the whole shift system forget, then they came together and share it. So you have collectible, deductibles. So the deductible is when the man doing the shareables consume a lot, and the shareable not forthcoming. That's why we hear a lot of noise. But when the deductible does not outweigh the collectible, the shareable is forthcoming. That's why they keep quiet. Without a lot of telling now. It happened before.
So is that a good thing for businesses?
No. That's what I'm telling you. That's the problem we have. So that's the most of the major problem I found.
But can the aviation sector survive without what you're just saying? Because it seems to be at the thrust of most of our businesses.
But the question is, fortunately enough, or unfortunately enough, there's no more national carrier. It's all private enterprise. So for the past 13, 14 years, governments say billions of dollars. So in retrospect, or by courtesy and help, see for the past 13, 15 years, there's no national carrier. It is the responsibility of government to look at each and every airline. Okay, there was a bailout before and so on and so forth. Okay. But the bailout was not adequate enough.
Okay, please hold that thought. You tell us more about that. Let us go to Ibadan. So when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Okay. Ibadan, tell us about your airport over there.
Air transportation, by all standard, is adjudged the safest and fastest means of movement. Statistics shows that it has the lowest occurrence of accidents compared to road. Air transportation in Nigeria has experienced exponential growth with the high level of traffic in terms of how people across board have embraced traveling by air. And this has resulted in emergence of many airports, both international and local, across the country. The Ibadan airport is no exception, as it has experienced tremendous inflow of traffic flights to the ancient city, Ibadan, which makes the airport very busy. An official at the Ibadan airport shed more light on facilities at the airport.
Talking about equipment for safe landing during bad weather, it's something the aviation industry is still working on, and that is actually handled by NAMA.
What is the synergy between Ibadan Airport and other agencies in making sure there is smooth operation and success at the airport?
Basically, the airport is managed by FAN, and also work in cognizance and consonance with other agencies like NIMET, which provides the weather forecast, with NAMA, that has to do with the air traffic control, and of course NTA, which is the regulatory body. So NIMET actually gives weather forecasts to the NAMA agency, not the FAN agency, because we don't have to do with the flight paths and all that. We have to do with the terminal building, the structures. So they work hand in hand with NAMA and the airlines to help them know what the weather is if they can fly in, or if they are even on ground, if they can take off. And we do have we have a synergy. We all work hand in hand.
Some passengers narrate their experiences as regards customer care and hygienic condition of convenience room at the airport.
I've heard people say that customer service at the airport, it's crazy. But so far so good. They have been great. They give your time. If you don't have anything, like for example now, there's this particular day I was taking a flight. So I had a stomach upset. And then this lady rushed up. She was like, "Ma, what's wrong?" And she attended to me perfectly.
Experience was good. Like a few minutes ago, I used their restroom and it was okay. There's hand sanitizer all around. It was neat, sparkling, and it's really good.
The metropolitan city, Ibadan, due to nearness to Lagos, is being opened up to business windows and opportunities as lots of industries and people are migrating to Ibadan. Has this rubbed off on Ibadan airport traffic positively? And is there any plan by the federal government to upgrade Ibadan Airport to international airport?
With the upgrade of the Ibadan Airport, you have more activities at the airport here. We're not only looking at the passenger traffic, we're also looking at cargo movement. There are plans to have the cargo shed and to have the maintenance yard for aircraft maintenance. We have the land and we have the papers. So it's just a question of time before you have all this coming up. Like you said, we actually have influx of more people from Lagos into Ibadan. And that is why this upgrade, it's needed sooner than later.
Respondents opined that if the federal government expedite action on the upgrade and provide fund to upscale it to international airports, it will open up the city for business opportunities, which will increase internally generated revenue of the nation, create jobs for our teeming youths, reduce pressure and congestion on Lagos airports, thereby taking airport experience in Ibadan to greater heights.
Thank you, NTA Ibadan. Indeed, that's everybody's hope, everybody's wish that everyone's experience at various airports in Nigeria will be something that we'll be proud and happy to share. Before the break, we're talking with Captain Mohammed Joji, one-time MD Nigerian Airways, and he's doing more these days. The CEO, Sky Power Express. We're talking about bailouts. Bailout. When you say bailout, you want to bail me out? Are you bailing out the aviation sector?
You see, the bailout syndrome, good. The government was so conscientious about the cost of operating an airline in Nigeria. So they decided, okay, gentlemen, Minister, get a list of airlines, etc., etc. So we thought the bailout, they should consult the airlines. It does not necessarily mean that because we have a lot of fleets. There are some airlines like us and few others, what we are called the grandfather right. We started 1986.
Okay.
Some newcomers come 2000 something. So at least courtesy demand, without having the number of fleet of aircraft you have, because you are what you call the grandfather right. You started the industry going very well. You cannot tell me because I have one or two aircraft, I would give me about 1/3 or 1/4 of what other people got. You must go back to ab initio, who established the the aviation industry. That was wrong. That's what we wrote about it. We say, look, this is wrong. Because you have so many aircraft, you have so much. That's not the issue. The issue, there was a foundation. Who are the foundation? So what we have expected at that time, call a meeting, what you call a stakeholders forum meeting. You have the record of everybody. But to say number of aircraft you get, that's not the issue. The issue is there must be grandfather right from ab initio, without which the guy doesn't have an aviation industry to work with.
First come, first serve.
First come, first serve. That's number one. Number two, also, we have a problem with traders coming into the aviation industry.
Traders.
It is a professional issue, not trading. Sometimes, aviation industry is you generate a lot of cash. In the evening, you can bring about 25 million on all various stations. So in the past, those co-traders, they take all the monies, share it among themselves, the family, etc., etc. When, after a year, when the aircrafts are due for maintenance, there was no money to maintain the aircraft.
Because you have shared it.
You have shared all the money. They never believe you have to save money to maintain an aeroplane. That's why you see littered of aircraft. Remember,
they are not aviation experts.
They are traders. They are not aviation experts. Go to Nigerian airports. What do you have? Packed airplane, isn't it?
And
Packed.
these experiences have affected the aviation sector.
A lot. Though it negates growth of the aviation sector itself.
So we don't need traders in the aviation sector. We need aviation experts.
Yeah, you see,
grandfather rights, people
yes.
that have experience.
Yes. Now, accountable manager does not mean that you have to be an expert in aviation. No. Accountable manager is the one who provides the money. Chachangi was accountable manager, put all the money. He never knew anything about aviation. So when you look at accountable manager, it's different from those workers, MDs, etc., etc. So the accountable manager, maybe somebody who could even speak English, doesn't even about aviation. That's it.
When you need cash,
when you need cash, the cash is there.
But now you talk about cash. Let's talk about something that has been coming up for quite a bit about the aviation sector. Some say it is riddled with corruption. That in fact, that is the bane of its existence, that the corrupt practices cost us in the past, and that if we don't take care now, it could cost us yet again.
Yes.
How true is that?
What do they define corruption for? What do you mean by corruption? Do you run an airline? We have no government airline. It was one government airline was there, there was corruption. This is your private enterprise. You steal your money, your own goddamn money, isn't it? That's the mistake they are making. Okay. What corruption? They're going to steal your money?
No.
So, the workers, maybe the workers themselves.
Okay.
Now, whose fault? It's your fault, the owner of the airline, because you don't have hand-picked managers to stop that corruption. Like I told you, the issue I discovered when I was in Nigerian Airways about this corruption, you say, being a government airline. You know, they steal luggages. You know, at those times, they steal luggages, they steal money, racketeering from ticket and so on and so forth. So, when I came in, they gossiped to me. You know them, a lot of gossip that go on. Oga, you know what happened? After the flight, they share money, they go into his hiding place, share money. I say, all right, so you mean collectible, deductible, and shareable, isn't it? So when you get all this money, you collect it. At the end of the day, you could share it. So dividing the money, so if the collectible does not outweigh the deductibles and the shareable is forthcoming, there's no noise, they kept quiet. Now, when the deductible outweighed the collectible and share not forthcoming, that's why you hear it. I say,
he didn't get his own share.
So you're going to get your own share, isn't it? You're part of the syndrome, isn't it? So really, I went through all that and I stopped it. I went to Nigerian Airways as an operator, not as a civil servant, because I had my own airline. So I had, so naturally, already I had a background on how to run an airline. So nowadays, there's no government airline, isn't it? For the past 13, 14 years. Now everything is private. That's why we say, okay, if that is the case, we save the government over $13 billion.
By not having a national carrier?
By not having a national carrier. Because when I was the MD of Nigeria, what happened? All the aircrafts were bought by government. Okay. All of them. Sometimes you don't pay for fuel. Government pay for fuel. You don't pay for overflying. Government pay for overflying. You don't pay for maintenance. Government pay for maintenance. So to you, as an airline, gross revenue is net profit. What you collect is a profit, no cost element. You start crying for government to bail you out, which I detested it. So I said, look, government should stop that. Because as far as concerned, what's the priority of government? Health, education, rural development, and security. This is where the government should put its money, not in this. Government is a very bad business partner in commercial in commercial enterprise. Okay. So I stopped it. So that's why we created Air Nigeria. Unfortunately, it doesn't see the light of the day. What happened because of so much thing going on about? I still have the certificate of incorporation of Air Nigeria. So that's why government has worked out of it, which we are very glad about it. Now, when you are looking for partners, who is your partner? Ethiopian Airlines, Egypt Air. I know all these foreign airlines. So if you say you're going to look for partners, the issue of government airline is gone because national carrier was a vogue. You are, yeah, oh yeah. It was, now the trend is what you call flag carriers.
Flag carriers.
Flag carriers. That's all. You carry the flag. Okay. I can have 3 or 4 airlines.
Who will be flag carriers?
Flag carriers, they can go and negotiate.
Okay.
On bilateral air service agreement.
Okay.
And so the bilateral service agreement is reciprocity. Imbalance of traffic.
It's not a merger.
No, not a merger. You know, merger is a natural process. Now they are telling us, oh, you get together and produce a mega airline that can compete. Excuse me, I have a different culture from you. You have a different culture from me. You know, so it's my money. I don't have to merge with anybody because it's a family affair, isn't it? If I die, my children will take over.
Okay, so a flag carrier is it.
Yes.
But let me come to the now. Let's talk about COVID-19.
Yeah.
We know COVID-19 affected so many businesses,
yeah,
including the aviation sector.
Yes.
How have we recovered? How have we moved forward in spite of that?
That's why I thought the government a lot. They really help us to recover from this COVID-19. Really help us a lot. Otherwise, we could have all gone bankrupt. So government taking taxpayers' money, hell of a lot, because the transport sector is very, very important. So the government did very well at that particular time. But as I say, when you have airline run by traders, you have a problem. No matter how much you pump. I mean, it's just like what they call it, this bottom pit.
It's leaking out.
You have a, it is like the bottom is leaking. So,
Okay.
So everything will leak out. So no matter how much you put, they will go under. So what I was expecting is the government will give a bailout. Good, sit down with me. Okay, so let me see your management structure. I mean, because the ministry, there are some experts. You can also call the attention, some industry experts to sit with you. If I give you my analysis, those can help you. No, I don't think if you can make it. I mean, with stuff analysis. So you don't have to leave it only for the ministry itself. Now bring in industry expert as well. Don't just go by saying, oh, he's an airline too, he will not be honest and so on and so forth. You are not stupid, a government. I mean, whatever I gave, you have to look at it. It is feasible, it is right. So then, stakeholders forum. We used to have this about 2-3 years. All the airlines of Nigeria, including custom, immigration, NDLA, SSA, a whole lot of it. We sit down together as what you call a stakeholders forum. We have everybody bring his own
pitching
idea.
in, talking about the growth of the aviation sector. Well, that's very interesting. Wanted to see something. Perhaps when the stakeholders forum will meet again, we will get to know if such a thing happens in our country and if it's being taken, if it's being managed well. Let's see a video where, not in our country, I've been told, where handlers of our precious luggage, are lifting them as though they were snails or they didn't have laptops or anything precious in those luggage. Let's see. I use the word, it's heartwarming to know that it's not Nigeria. Am I being selfish? But indeed, it's heartwarming because already my heart, we're having chest pains, with the way those handlers were just throwing. Even when they hear the sound, there's nothing. No, they don't feel anything. Just fling them. Somebody's life and business and property is in there.
You see,
Captain Joji, tell us about that.
When I was in India of Nigerian Airways, when I was in India of Nigerian Airways, it happened in New York. Some Nigerians, they trade in cocaine, remember? They sell cocaine. They cannot carry the money because they will check them. So what they did, they put the money in a luggage, suitcase and company in the connivance with those in New York at the station so that they can pass the luggage through. By the time the luggage comes here, they will just go and take it with their millions of dollars there. So what happened, the loaders realized such kind of a thing. So they start breaking into luggages to see whether there was a dollar or yen. It came to a head-on collision when the ambassador of America came to my office. Captain Georgie, somebody broke into my box and so on and so forth. This is when I realized people were looking for dollars that illegally was going to be transferred. That triggered my attention at a particular time. That ambassador luggage that was torn a bit, looking for dollars. That's how I knew things were going wrong. So I quickly set up in New York. I said, okay. I asked for, that's what we call PONYA, Point of New York and New Jersey. In New York. So I asked the security and the government, could you please help me by bringing some security in my check-in, in my luggage, up to the loading of the aircraft? Because as a citizen of Nigeria, I have the right to ask for that security check. And I was lucky, they helped me, and that thing stopped. It all started because they were selling cocaine. Then they bring the money into the luggage and so on and so forth. That's why it keeps on tearing people's luggages. So now, this kind of unprofessional way of throwing luggages is absolutely wrong. You don't do that. Luggages are normally taken, you see, from the conveyor belt. Yeah, it's all automatic because of this. In your luggage, there's a tag. That tag goes to that's why when you look at in United Kingdom, where I work as a manager and before I become a pilot there is this barcode. The barcode, the computer will sense it, whether this is going to Lagos, this is going to Abuja, this is going to Akapulco, this is going to New Zealand. The computer itself sorts it out, just move the luggage.
Yeah.
It's simple. You don't have to go and betray this. No, because of the barcode. It tells you exactly which country that is coming. So all the luggages, beautifully, by the time they come to Nigeria, now you have to upload them from the aircraft. That's where the problem comes in. First of all, pilferages. Secondly, throwing of the luggage as if they are nothing. That's why you see all this nonsense. That's why we say, okay, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, now before it was NAA, please make sure when the luggages are being uploaded from the aircraft, you have security agents. And then following that truck right up to the dispatch point where they can put it on the conveyor belt. So we recommend it, and it works. Otherwise, from the aircraft to the conveyor belt, they can tear your back. Yes. So we talked to the NAA and found, and fortunately it's working. I don't know whether that thing is gone. Okay. Now, then the movement, what you call facilitation. Now, you have immigration and SSS. Now, you remember there are two people on the departure counter, remember? You go to SSS man before you go to immigration. Now we say, look, this kind of attitude hampered facilitation. If passport, for example, if you are wanted, all you have to do, there must be a code whereby in a separate room. By the time they scan your passport, they will see, you don't go out of the country, your passport. You don't have to sit down here looking at me as if I'm a criminal. I mean, remember, look at me as a criminal. Small little kid.
Yes.
Then he passed somebody. So that's why we say, no, that hampered facilitation as well.
It does.
Then people come in, the airlines are delayed because of that. So you see, that's why I say, let's go back to how professionally other countries operate their own airlines.
That's the primitive way to do things.
Yes.
Captain Joji, please give us your final words.
You see, in a country where individuals are richer than the government. I made that right up.
You are a?
Where individuals are richer than the government.
Are you one of them?
No, I'm not. Those individuals, they control the economy and direct the policy of government. But I'm very glad, coming with our President, Muhammad Buhari, this now has been nipped in the bag. But you cannot say it's 100%. So those individuals who are in the government, they establish the policy and try to control the economy of the country. They decide how much a dollar worth. Abi? When they realize the dollars are easily available, they curtail it to raise the value of the dollar, say from 400 to 500 or 600. So that's why I say in a country where individuals are richer than the government, they control the policy and direct the policy of government. So I'm very glad this government realized that and make sure these people are accountable, because you cannot steal my money and then come and make law for me. Not so.
Yes.
So this way it is the responsibility of each and every individual. Who is government? You and I. They're all government.
Yes.
I mean, that people don't understand. No one person is government. President Buhari is not the only government. All of us are together. So you have to contribute to ensure all this corruption, bribery, and insurgency. Now, for example, the question the insurgency issue. Now, all these people are within you. So that's why we said, I made a recommendation and a write-up. This district head, village head, and and those every human being that was born is started from a small area. Now, get them together, put them on a salary, change the constitution to accommodate them as part of the government. If you do that, you find that security will be perfect. But you leave those people out of the loop. So this is what the problem comes
We leave them out, we leave out vital information. And when Nigeria is secure,
yes,
the sky is not our limit, it's our takeoff point.
Yes, and do you remember also in those days that what House of Chiefs, not here, and now you have a thing called House of Chiefs,
yes.
The what do you call it? The executive, the House of Chiefs, and so on. So I recommend they should bring back the House of Chiefs.
Okay.
Very, very important, because those chiefs, the villagers, they are under them. So if you go back to House of Chiefs, just like you have Federal Executive Council and the state,
the local level.
Remember, and the state,
yes,
what do you call it? The state council, the Federal Executive. Then also like the House of Chiefs. So all the local lords had in an area like Emirates, Zaza Emirate, you have one. In all this sort of thing, you have 2 or 3. Bring them in. They are very, very important.
Yes, and criminality will be curbed.
Yes, will be curbed.
And Nigeria will be secure.
Secure. So bring in the House of Chiefs back, please. Very important.
Yes, we thank you. We thank you very much, Captain Mohammed Joji, former Managing Director, Nigeria Airways, and the CEO of Sky Power Express Airways, Nigeria. We thank you. Wow. World of knowledge we're getting today. Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege, not just for me, but for indeed everyone who has been a part of our program. Messages came in, millions. We couldn't take all of them, but we thank you. God indeed bless Nigeria and the aviation sector. Bye-bye. Have a great week.